All right, coming back in with some more design. We got our smooth soul mix going, and I just started sketching. I was like, I might as well make a video. The design videos have been fantastic. I've really been enjoying mapping out and explaining the design process while I'm working. Sometimes it might not look like I'm doing that much, but every time I come back in and add more to it, it gets more clear, it gets more solid, it gets more foundational, and I'm having more and more fun with it. Just recently in the last few videos, we've been doing starting with some type to get lines, starting with lines of text. Like, we'll write, design is awesome. First, freeform, right? Almost too fast, graffiti style, doing some wild letters. I've got a very specific font that I like to do, but we'd try and go in and do some more fonts. Maybe later, maybe tomorrow. So taking your time, but being gestural in the first steps of the design process. To be gestural and loose and move with it. Let's see. We'll do design is fun. And as you're getting into it, yeah. Super cool. And then going back in and, tracing the letters, going back in and with some precision line work, sniping some lines around the lines that you've already created is the next step. Like going from the sketch to illustration in design. Once you have, your loose form out there to hit your points and angles, something that we just started doing as well is doing points on this map. So to do something like point, 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 and then hit those angles exactly as you can. This is how you get really good at line work, but also design. Also aspects of design. And I knew that my improvement could go up if I did this consistently and did this deliberately. The deliberate intention to improve one specific area and move between your toolkits fluidly is where you get that extra EXP from. I don't even mind some like little divergences, like keeping some aspects of movement, some organic qualities is usually something that I really enjoy. And sometimes you can add in like effects is something that you're doing as well. So from line, and then we finished by doing some tone. And it doesn't take long. At first I was like, oh yeah, this is taking forever. But as a series of warm-ups goes, this is almost no time in the design process. And you move with it, you flow with it, you find your perfect tempo. You get some music on that you like. If you're feeling excited, listen to exciting music. If you're feeling chill, listen to some chill music. This is almost too chill. I like it because I don't think it has a copyright, which is awesome. We'll have to find some exciting music that also doesn't have copyright. I mean, I don't care about getting my stuff monetized for YouTube. That's pretty unimportant. Working on projects for games and stories and design is like, there's so much more money in there. I would vote to always keep all of my content unmonetized so that I could not have any ads in that space, because like if I'm already getting paid, that's such a fractional amount of money for the people's time that they're using to skip over ads. It seems like, if there's a whole bunch of people, for me, it could end up being a lot if you're getting like lots and lots of views. But if you had enough money, it's just like the ad system's kind of broken. Back in the day, I complained about this loudly, where I was like, oh man, all these content creators on YouTube are making money from ad agencies that are getting people's attention just to become a name in their brain, just to get into their subconscious. A lot of ads were like, I would be like, this ad is terrible. I'm never going to buy this product because I saw the ad, but it's still valuable enough for them to invest billions of dollars into this ad campaign, when it's like, if you were to invest your money into the thing that you liked, that you were interested in, with the system more similar to Patreon, it just seemed like you're using everyone's attention, their focus, what they want to do better, instead of convincing them to buy more stuff that they don't need, or to vote any kind of way on a political campaign. It's like, some ads are good. I see the process of it and the reasoning, and that's okay. But just the idea that the videos would be blocked in any territory, because it comes up, these are blocked in some territories. And at first I was like, oh no, that's terrible. And then apparently, like, North America isn't a territory, but I would hate to think of anyone being like, I can't watch these videos at all because of a territorial dispute. So going in lightly, doing some gradations, having fun with it, making sure it looks cool. Like a stylish amount of gradations, and getting the highlights against line work against gradations, and getting good at just like gradiating within a specific area, and keeping it fun while you're doing it. Keeping it fun is everything. Design is fun, drawing is fun. And as long as you keep that as the focal point, then you're going to improve. And more than that, you'll be able to get an energy boost back from the work, which should really be your focus at first. It's not like, okay, I'm improving, but the question should be, are you having fun while you're improving? Because if you're like, I am going to wait until I can animate anime, that's so much time. Until you can be like a pro animator of anime. I don't know what the exact crash course is to be able to do that. It's got to be like months of like making it your focal point during the day, right? It's got to be like months of that. So it's things like action lines around your shapes, You can do all kinds of things to have it looking awesome. And just, of course, doing some like swirling lines can be good. But they don't like look good on your paper. I like to have your design page having a cool logo or a label on the top of it is fun while you're getting warmed up. And also there's something on the canvas, but it's something kind of nice. But you just drew it, and you drew it in no time, so it's not like a precious piece of work. Like, oh no, now it says design is fun. So I keep my affirmations something kind of simple. Not like design is a technical fucking puzzle box that you can crack with your sophisticated... It's like, no, design is fun. Okay, so we're going to be doing some reference from X stuff that I've captured from Pinterest. Again, looking at some of these base images for inspiration, and then capturing some forms, and then changing up the details once we've got a really solid three-dimensional form in place. We're capturing a kind of Overwatch type anatomy, which is very cartooned. The style that I do is usually a bit more realistic than this. There's somehow the character has these proportions and still looks like, I don't know, she's a lady that could be in her 20s. And I'm like, what is the magic secret sauce? So we'll try and map it out in a way that is reflective of that. Be a little bit more nose. Yeah, it's cute. But then we'll change up the details and see what we can do about character design while focusing at first, like learning this form and this anatomy, and maybe even doing a copy of it once we get it down, to have that line of the angle of the eyes and getting that right first. All right. That's pretty good. I'm still feeling like the nose is supposed to be like here. So we'll put the nose there. My main pencil does not have an eraser, so I have to use a broken pencil's eraser. That's better. Okay. More cheek, maybe. There we go. That doesn't read as a child's build quite as much. Big mouth. Yo! Hell yeah! Okay. I feel like, as I always do, I haven't pushed the nose up quite far enough. Like, I'm pulling the proportions back towards that of a regular face. Just a little bit. Like, it still looks good, but maybe in small form, once we draw this, I'm not going to change the proportions quite yet. Sometimes it's just like, finish it with what you've got, and then change it up in the second. Really, really high, like, bridge of the nose to eyebrow. That's like, whatever, like Jeff Keane Tangled proportions, where it's like 3/4 is like, instead of it being like 1/4 of the nose is eyebrow to bridge of nose, and then 3/4 is nose, it's like 1/4 is nose, 3/4 up to eyebrow. You're like, whoa. It's so much. Okay, now even at this angle where the chin is angled up and you can see a little bit of the bottom of the chin to the neck area, and it's tempting to use that line as the line of the eyes, but you know, if a regular face is like the line of eyes is that, the line of chin is that, right? So as it's angled up, there's still that, like, the jaw is curving at a different angle than the eyes, right? The eyes are there, nose is there, jaw is there, shadow of the nose there, right? So when you turn it up at an angle like this, it's like the circular mass to the side of the head there, and then the jaw there, and the eyes are like that, right? As the jaw curves around, like that, cheek to the, whatever that point's called, up to the eyebrow, they ride in at a different angle. As you turn the head in space, you think every single thing changes shape. And that was a mistake that I made so many times, so many more times, when I would like make the eyes like flat like that instead of turning them up and at that angle. Which, the things that I've made lots and lots and lots of mistakes on, and then once I finally learned it, I was like, oh hey, that's a tool that has solved that problem, is the things that I try to include or remember and review, and through including, remembering, and reviewing them, I learned them better. Okay, still looks like a kid at this point. I don't know what they did. I think the eyes are spaced wider. That's not helping. The nose is tiny. Yeah, kids' noses are kind of big. Like, they're bigger than an adult's nose in the proportion of the face. So having an adult portioned nose might help. Yeah, no, the eyes are definitely wider in the ref. Maybe a wider mouth. Lower chin. Yeah. Okay, I think that helped. It's fun discovering things. Like, sometimes you'll make, like, is it that? No, it wasn't that. Other times you get it. And the more that you do design, the more that you draw stuff, the more that you get it consistently, the more you're adding into what you already know, and more ways of looking at things. We can do more measurements, more quick measurements. You can capture the angles around things that you've represented, which is like, as you draw the mouth, you're imagining like the space of the lips around the mouth. It's an entire landscape of Elden Ring sliders on these characters, all of these changing micro shapes that influence each other. And they get simplified into this, aspect of cartooning. Okay, to make the bottom of the jaw like more like further out and smaller. It's like this part of the face is bigger. Is a tech as well. You know, if you're like, there's a, I don't know. Draw like a kid. It's like wide nose. Yeah. And like lip. That looks like a kid. For sure. But then with those two moves, right? Like making the jaw like there and the chin a little bit more out. That's what they do in Scott Pilgrim, right? If you're drawing Scott Pilgrim, like, okay, now it could be a college student that's just represented as a cartoon character. And you make the nose a little bit smaller. Bam. Now she's a college student that's, yeah, represented in a webtoon style. Or like Steven Universe, look at all kinds of different types of the best of animation. It's a whole art form. I'd love to see more designers taking a crash course in animation and animators taking a crash course in design. Like the artistry that they were doing in Steven Universe was so totally cool. Never have I seen effects quite as cool as that in a cartoon landscape. The effects for the clouds, the effects for the water, the fire, all the elements of their world were brought to life in a way that integrated them into the world and enhanced the storytelling while also creating ambience. Yeah, super, super cool. But other times the design seemed like level 1, you know, level 1 design, level 5 cartooning. But at the same time, I wasn't seeing any designers in the entire game like doing any of these things, integrating graphic design and really hard line work and like simplified emblematic characters that become like a symbol of this world, that are elemental in style, that do all of these things that they were doing so well. And it just made me think, what if there were people that created bridges between the world so that the designers could simplify their design enough to be copied by the Korean animation team from every single angle and rendered at a really high frame count, so they'd know the exact amount of details to include. So they wouldn't like, oh, here's a sick ass design, but it only works for games because it doesn't do those things I just said. You're getting better and better at smoothing graphite, so it just looks effortless. That's really fun. Okay, I think the character here has, if you know just the right amount of graphite to use too, you can get a gradation in like 1 second in the right place. You can always go back and work it. And that's how you learn the amount of graphite to use. But sometimes just like that, you hit it and it's smooth and you're like, right on. Okay. Let's see. We might just, instead of doing their full cartoon style, just make it a little bit more realistic. I'm not trying to draw a kid character so much as a cartoon character. I thought this would be a good one for learning Overwatch style, working on the Overwatch freaking project. Oh my god. I'll have to tell you. All about it. Right now it's kind of like under wraps because I'm trying to work it up professionally and get it to the team, so I don't want to act unprofessional and be like, oh my god, check out this crazy innovation on content. But I fucking cracked it tonight. I cracked the whole fucking grid, yo. No, it's like, I realized that in order for an idea to be great, I don't have to write it. As long as the idea is great, if you use generation for it to add skills that you do not have, as long as you keep the sovereignty of the idea and you're very clear in articulating what the idea is so that you become the director of the idea, the same way that if you can communicate an idea to a team of people that have all of the talents and skills that you don't have, like Quentin Tarantino, the best directorial advice in the world, you become the director of story with the advanced tools of generation at your disposal, right? And I didn't know how to generate things so well until just recently and getting into it more and more and more, right? So I take the concept of the story of Overwatch that I've been working on, the Overwatch fan story, which in articulating the designs, I realized how much I had put into them and how much I like them. Like I was like, this is a framework placeholder for an idea for this story concept that could be done a million different ways. I give an example of a short story that's trying to expand the mythology of the game. I give the example of the short story that is trying to expand the mythology of the game in just like a based way, but at every single point in that story that I'd written, I was like, this is for the team. If the team wants to integrate these ideas in any way into the main story and mythology of Overwatch, they could change absolutely anything, right? And it doesn't look super good if you say right at the beginning you can change absolutely anything, but that's what I was thinking if I was going to give it to them. Or I was like, if it just existed as an Overwatch fan concept, it could be expanded and changed by collaborators. But in that case, I'd be like, impress me that your idea is better before changing it, obviously. And still expand the mythology and the fandom of Overwatch in a way that is respectful and complimentary to the creators of the game, that is made out of love and appreciation for the games, which is always the space to appreciate fan content, to approach fan content, while at the same time keeping like an openness for innovation. Yeah, keeping an openness for innovation. And it's just like instantly it hit it. I was able to articulate the question just right. And even in the way that I got excited about it beforehand. Some people will be like, what does that have to do with it? But I think it has everything to do about it. In the way that the precognitive heart is an existing consistent study. It's been done, I think, thousands of times. There's places that still actively host these things and consistently find that people gauge an emotional reaction in their heart before the randomly generated content that's in front of them. Randomly generated again. Crazy. So in that way, if you were going to get an emotional response from one of the generations, if you stop and you wait for that emotion and you tap into it, or like you capture the emotion of joy, you visualize what you want to create from the generation, then, I mean, if you were to wait for that response out of all the infinite random generations from potential words at that potential moment, again, if you type in the exact same generation on two different PCs on two different days, if you type in the exact same generation on two separate PCs at the exact same time, you get completely different generations. And the actual library of cross variables in that equation is mind-boggling. It's like trillions and trillions of potential compositions for the information, right? It's cross-referencing entire libraries against each other instantly. You know, it's crazy. So to have a little bit of time and space to dream of that, and to articulate the dreams in your own mind and to visualize what they look like is definitely how I would start any generation process, you know? How you start any generation process is exactly like that. And this one just absolutely fucking hit. This is an idea that I've had for like, I was gonna say like 15 years. That ain't right. It's like 2017 to now. You know, like 8 years, tinkering with it at different times, but never really changing it too much from the, like, in a single afternoon, coming up with the whole, like, oh, wouldn't this be cool? And it wasn't just that. There has been times where I've added things into it, or times when there was a question and I kind of just sat there for a long time. or like trying to learn the Overwatch lore, trying to integrate the Overwatch lore, not having much luck with it. There's different skill sets that I do not have that are complementary to my own, and creating that space for that. Like, it didn't have to be my skill set, to be open and to ask for skills that I did not have was the biggest point in this generation. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think this is our most currently valuable generation. I was going to say we have some insane generations out there. They'd be like, what, Lane? You got generations talking about like changing up the whole education system and, you know, inventing the next craziest game ever. But this one is an actionable solution, right? The other ones need development further, and in the way that they're seeds, and if you attribute the value of a whole tree to a seed, then, you know, it's hard to quantify. It's kind of fun just to spend a little bit of time in space just chill drawing. The more that I do this is like, the more easy it is when you get a lightning flash of inspiration. If you've done these things, doing line work and whatnot, I feel like I should do some more dynamic lines because I was just sitting here. This sweet bald girl, we could do like an ang mark or something, but I think we should do hair. But I'm looking for a hairstyle that we don't have. Let's see, Billie Eilish has some cool hair here. It's just kind of like, all right. Just kind of basic. We'll try to make it less basic and more like messy. Because she's got a different hair over here. Like, when has Billie Eilish ever had basic hair? But it's kind of just like down and over in the thing. And I'm like, this looks like, you know, we want a character that's like wild. Could just be doing some Scott Pilgrim-esque characters. Hit it and got it though. Maybe we should do some Overwatch design. I mean, shit, that's probably what I should be doing when I'm talking about Overwatch, is designing the characters for Overwatch as well. We'll move on. I feel like designing something of a little bit larger scale, and then maybe come back to this at another point. Make her hair short and punk in the back. Have some like clumpiness going on, some messiness. I often design hairs that are pretty similar. So does Tetsuya Nomura and Miyazaki, and quite honestly, Kojima. Like, many of the masters that I look up to and admire most really hone in on a lot of the same things and articulating those signature things from a bunch of different ways. And I try to learn from that, but a lot of my favorite designers also do the opposite. People like Cynics and Fang Zhu, and I mean, Trent Kanuga, fucking Peter Han. You know, all those guys are like taken on so many different styles, different subjects. They still hone in on their own signature, you know, areas of expertise and specialization, but to continue to take on new challenges far into a career is something that I'd love to be able to do, even if still honing in on core themes, core things that are interesting to you, where it's something like, you know, Miyazaki does flight, you know, Hideo Kojima's done war, but more than just war, you know, the philosophies behind it. What does it take to gain strength? Great strength to rise to any kind of challenge, and finding ways to articulate that from many characters' perspectives, right? Really cool. And in that articulation, you know, like Snake and Raiden are very similar functional characters in the story and very different emotional characters at different points in their lives. It's like a different side of the same coin, so to speak. Like, yeah, no, you'll hear this a lot in my work as we're doing Deathless. It's like, she is a tool in this, you know, this orchestration, you know, she wields power, you know. Snake and Raiden definitely both start as tools. But they ain't the only ones, you know. Chainsaw Man, he's the other one. Those are the only ones. Snake and Raiden and Chainsaw Man. No, I'm kidding, obviously. Many of the Avengers are used as tools at points and have to fight for sovereignty. And there's people pulling the strings behind the events in many, if not all, long-running series. Okay, still looking a little bit girly. That. With this, the amount of space in the eyebrows and the nose, it is so hard. They really did a great job. Okay, I think this is an AI image that we're sketching from. They did a great job capturing all of the ways that you cartoon something perfectly and a kind of Splatoon character. It's fucking perfect. No, I'm so excited about Overwatch right now. And it's something, if you have a dream about it for years and then you see a bunch of progress at one time, it's very satisfying. Okay, it'd be cool if there's more design going on in this character. Have him looking up. We're looking up right now. Yeah, we'll come back in and try and draw it again. We could even do that really fast because we just drew it. Tiny nose. How? Up over. Trying to see what proportions is different here. Maybe it's this. Cheekbone there. Oh, that helped. Ooh, it's a unique shape of, like, you can tell the cheekbone is there, but yet it still curves out and around to the cheek, capture an angle. And whenever you're doing a story, obviously, if you're hammering down the art style, the main proportions and type of cartooning of the whole world. This is something because, you know, when I'm first learning how to draw, I want to draw Final Fantasy and anime. Both of which have their own proportions. Like, it was very hard to draw a character with Final Fantasy sized eyes, but everything else has to be perfect or the eyes look too big. If it's like regular face Final Fantasy eyes, it's like, fuck, man. There. Small lips. Better. Let's find a different hairstyle. Try and do a Chris Martin hairstyle. You know, some cartoonified Chris Martin. It's always fun to surprise yourself a little bit. I know Salvador Dali was the man when it came to keeping sketchbooks in very random places. So when he was taking a shit, it's like his sketchbook would be there in case, or he would have like canvases on the wall with brushes and paints. So if he got an idea while he's taking a shit, it was always there for him to be able to capture. And even that way, it was like he ran into the same ideas at the desk, in the studio, at the canvas. It was a familiar space. So in capturing an unfamiliar space, it's like you might be able to find things that you wouldn't otherwise find. Yeah, putting a little bit more space there makes characters look less childlike. Pushing the whole jaw forwards a little bit. Now, I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to figure out what the fuck made Scott Pilgrim characters not look like kids, while still being totally cartoony. And everyone in the entire world copied, Brian Lee O'Malley's style after Scott Pilgrim. It became the go-to standard for all of the cartoon shows. The bean-shaped face. Draw like a character, and then they bean out a little bit right there. It's like a little bit different than the chibi. Down there, and then like under nose. Bam! Every cartoon in the world, man. Like Gravity Falls, Star with the Forces of Evil, Steven Universe, like all of these. You know, it was like $1 billion in cartoons copied his stuff. I mean, nothing wrong with that. He had the superior style or whatever. If I made bank, I would have gone back and given him a hella shout out or something. Yeah, no. If we do make the Terraria game and it becomes really good, I was like, just to see it get made. Sometimes if you're like thinking of other things, like if I can get the arts production company here, instead of a comics thing, or a way to get these tutorials, or just like a job doing things, and I'd be set up, I'd be good, I'd be not dying, not suffering anymore. Then it opens up just creative freedom, which is what I'm working towards my entire life. Where it's like, if we used all the Terraria ideas, and they're all in the open source if we recreate them, like obviously, Souls-like games, Genshin Impact, there could be Terraria-like games. I don't see why there wouldn't be, in a world where everyone agrees that Souls-like is an addition to the, collaborative ecosystem of games. It makes the whole gamescape better to have them. No, so we could absolutely use every single thing in Terraria, almost exactly, and just change the art style and make a thing. But we'd want to do something original and do something cool. No doubt about that. But if we did use all their things and made something that was massively successful and upgraded the world, brought a lot of happiness, I'd go give them money. I imagine showing up with a suitcase of $2 million, just giving it to the creator of Terraria to like do with whatever. Not that they're, hurting at all, but just like because of we're both in a big state of abundance right now. Terraria made over $2 billion. I'm sure they're super stacked. But if he wanted to donate that, he or she, to their favorite charity, if they wanted to give it away, if they wanted to share it with the partners, whatever the fuck they wanted to do with it, they could do with it. To have something like that where someone's like, whoa, you ain't have to do that shit. And it's like, nah, I know, I chose to do that shit. That's a good feeling thing. To be able to express your sovereignty. All right. How do we get this where now it's kind of like highlight and shadow? Okay, we make it really quick. Trying to make a girl character with really short hair? Not easy. Bam, easy. Yeah, you just gotta do the lashes. That's it. Bam. But no, you want to be able to do a character that doesn't necessarily have giant lashes and still read as a girl. Doesn't have any Squid Game. Not Squid Game, Splatoon vibe. It could be a little Squid Game comic. A little Scott Pilgrim style Squid Game comic. Huge, huge fan of Scott Pilgrim. It's one of those timeless, priceless series, man. You just go in with a completely original style. It's around the same time I read Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. I'm just like, to be able to rewrite the whole rule book on what was possible. And I think that was a couple years after reading Bakuman, How to Make Manga. And that seems so, like, it's very complex and technical, the landscape of manga. Like the things that you have to do, the amount of rigid guidelines and rules and ways that things are judged, and you're trying to hit all these things, to be able to throw all that out and write a new story. Like maybe the audience doesn't want to hit all these things that manga editors have like learned that audiences consistently want, and they want this new thing that you have. No way in hell is any editor going to be like, oh, you know, they can judge things, but only with the basis of knowledge that they have. Okay, we learned this pretty well. Bean style. We'll post this and come back. All right. Peace and love. Design is fun.